So with adjustable rate mortgages, we have a fixed rate for the beginning, and then we have what's called a floating rate after that. So in this case, we've got a 5-1 ARM. So the 5 is that intro rate, how long we get that fixed rate at the beginning. So for 5 years, we're going to have this intro rate of 3.8%. The 1 means every year after that, our interest rate is going to change depending on what the market dictates. And then remember, ARM just stands for adjustable rate mortgage. And that's the idea, is that we have a fixed rate and then it adjusts after that. So we're going to look into what our payment is, our monthly payment is after those first 5 years. Well, there's a little bit of a process for this because we need to go through those first 5 years. The other part of this is we're going to assume we've got a 30-year mortgage overall. So even though this says a 5-1, that doesn't mean our mortgage is 6 years. It just means we have 5 years fixed, and then every year after, so the remaining 25 years, it's going to be a floating rate. So let's go to the TVM solver, click apps, and then enter for finance, enter for TVM solver. So when we start off these problems, the most important thing is to think, how much time do I have left on my loan? So forget about the fact that we have 5 years of a fixed rate. In total, this is a 30-year mortgage. So at the beginning of this, we have 30 times 12. We have 360 payments left to make. That intro rate is 3.8%. We're going to get to that future rate later, but we're just starting off with all the initial info. Our present value is $275,000. And then our future value is 0 because we're saying at the end of the 30 years, again, we're thinking overall, how much time do I have left here? 360 payments. And overall, I'm trying to get this loan down to 0. So we're going to solve for payment. And this is going to be the payment for that we make every month, those first 5 years. So let's hit alpha and enter. And of course, we want to make sure these last 3 are 12, 12, and end. Those are pretty standard though. 12 payments a year, 12 compounds, and our payments are made at the end of each month. So the first 5 years, our monthly payment is $1,281.38. Now we do want to be careful about rounding. When we're doing things in the calculator, anytime that we round a value and use it again, there's going to be a little bit of a difference between using this extended value and using the rounded value. Okay, so the first 5 years we have this monthly payment, $1,281.38. We have to go through that process to figure out our monthly payment once the new rate kicks in, because we'd have to say, well, I don't know, what happens after 5 years? So after 5 years, we still owe some amount. It's not going to be the $275,000 because we've made at least some progress on that. The other thing to keep in mind is our monthly payments those first 5 years, right? Some of that goes to interest, some of it goes toward the principal, toward the loan amount. So we might say, well, how do I figure this out? If I want to rework these pieces, how do I figure that out? So let's hit second and then mode, because that's just going to put us back to the main screen. And we'll say, okay, well, it would be really nice if there was a balance function to tell me what's my balance after some period of time. The good news is, if we go to apps and we click on finance, instead of going into the TVM solver, let's scroll down. We don't have to go too far down here, but a little bit farther, we see BAL. That stands for balance. So this is going to tell us, hey, what's our balance after some number of payments? Well, 5 years into this loan, we've made 5 times 12. We've made 60 payments. So what's the balance after 5 years or after 60 payments? So the balance on our loan, it should be less than $275,000. We made some progress on it. So we still owe $247,918. And again, rounding a little bit is going to be something that continually haunts us a little bit for these problems. but let's say 44 cents here. So we still owe that amount. So we can find our new monthly payment essentially in the 6th year by going back to our TVM solver. So apps, hit enter for finance and enter for TVM solver. We have to be careful about all the values we have in here. So N, we have to think about how much time is left on this loan, not how long are we using this APR or anything like that. So we're 5 years into a 30-year loan. So that means we have 25 years left. So we're going to say 25 times 12. Right? That's how many total payments we have left on this loan. Our new interest rate is 4.35. Our present value, well, we said we don't still owe that 275,000. We've made some progress. So that's our balance. That's why we solve for the balance. So 247,918.44. So this is how much we still owe. So everything is adjusted. We're 5 years in here. And then we're going to say, okay, now let's figure out what our payment is. So alpha, enter, and so our new monthly payment at this higher interest rate, $13.56, and well, we got to round this as well, 99 cents. And this is not uncommon for adjustable rate mortgages, ARMs, to have a higher monthly payment once our intro rate is up. So the intro rate is usually lower than whatever the market rate is later. Not always, but oftentimes that's the case. So our original monthly payment was $12.81 and change. This one, $13.56 and change.